Welcome. Today's deep dive is brought to you by Skip Benton with Coldwell Bankers Select Real Estate. If you are looking to buy a home in Northern Nevada, then contact Skip. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into some really interesting data on senior housing trends today. We're looking at this article from the Mortgage Point called Examining Trends in U.S. Senior Housing. It was written by Andy Beth Miller, and it just came out on December 20th, 2024. But what really caught my eye was this stat. Apparently, over 10.5 million homes with mortgages in the U.S. are owned by people 65 and older. It uses data from LendingTree and the U.S. Census Bureau to get to that number.
Yeah, it's a pretty staggering figure when you think about it. Really makes you wonder what's going on with senior housing these days.
Right, like where are all these folks living and what does it mean for their finances? Plus, that's a huge chunk of the housing market.
Absolutely. And the article actually digs into some interesting regional differences. For instance, it highlights cities like Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and San Diego. They have the highest percentages of mortgage homes owned by seniors, over 25% in each city.
Wow, that's a huge concentration. Why are so many seniors choosing those areas? Well, it's probably a combination of factors. The article points out that California, for example, has a notoriously high cost of living. Property values are insane there. So it's likely that seniors in those places are carrying much larger mortgages for longer, even if their monthly payments might be a little bit lower.
Oh, that's interesting. So even if their monthly costs seem okay, they could be kind of trapped in those expensive homes. Like it's harder to downsize or relocate if they need to later on.
Exactly, and that lack of flexibility can be a real problem,
Yeah.
especially in retirement when things can change quickly. The article also looks at the flip side. Places like Austin, Dallas, Salt Lake City, they've got way lower percentages of senior homeowners with mortgages.
I wonder what's driving that difference. Is it just that those cities have younger populations?
Younger folks moving in definitely plays a role, but I think it's more nuanced than that. For example, Texas has a reputation for being more affordable, especially compared to a place like California. So seniors might be able to pay off their mortgages faster in those areas. Maybe they can avoid taking on those huge loans in the first place.
Makes sense. So we're seeing these interesting patterns in where seniors are choosing to live. But what about the financial side of things? Does the article talk about how much seniors are actually paying for housing?
It does, and this is where it gets really interesting. In a lot of cities, older homeowners are actually living in homes with lower median values, like compared to the overall population.
Oh, really?
In Las Vegas, for instance, the median home value for seniors is $429,600, which is actually slightly lower than the citywide median of $437,900. And then in Los Angeles, seniors pay a median of $2,564 per month for housing, while the citywide median is $3,096.
So it sounds like seniors might be getting a better deal in some of these areas, but is there more to the story? Are there hidden risks or downsides we need to consider?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's what we'll dig into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll go beyond the numbers and consider what it really means to carry that mortgage debt into retirement.
Sounds good. I'm definitely intrigued to learn more about that.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's a topic that's only going to become more important as the U.S. population ages.
you got that right. All right, we'll be back in a bit with more on senior housing trends. Stay tuned. It almost seems like a good thing, right? Lower housing costs for seniors. But I have a feeling it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, there's definitely more to it than meets the eye.
I'm guessing it has to do with carrying that mortgage debt into retirement.
You got it. That's one of the big concerns the article really highlights. Sure, those lower monthly payments might be tempting.
Yeah, they make it seem more manageable.
Right, but you got to remember that retirement usually means switching to a fixed income.
From a steady paycheck.
Exactly. You're relying on savings and investments, and suddenly, having a big chunk of that going toward a mortgage every month, it can really limit your options.
Yeah, you lose that flexibility.
Exactly, and it's not just about making those payments. It's about having enough to handle unexpected costs.
Things like medical bills.
Exactly. Or maybe you want to help out a family member, or finally have time to travel and enjoy your hobbies. All of a sudden, that mortgage payment becomes a huge burden.
Yeah, like an anchor weighing you down.
That's a good way to put it. And it's not just an individual problem either. This trend has implications for the whole economy.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, if a lot of seniors are strapped with mortgage debt, it can lead to less consumer spending, which affects everyone. Plus, it puts more pressure on social safety nets.
Government programs for seniors.
Exactly.
So carrying mortgage debt into retirement is a big deal? What are some potential solutions? Does the article offer any suggestions?
It does. It says we need a new approach to retirement planning.
Like the old models just don't apply anymore.
Right. They assume everyone enters retirement debt-free. But that's not realistic for a lot of people today. People are living longer, carrying debt further into life. They face different challenges than previous generations.
So we need to adapt our financial planning strategies.
Exactly. We need to educate people about the risks of debt in retirement. Give them the tools to manage it effectively.
Like what kind of tools?
Well, maybe downsizing to a smaller home or refinancing to get a better interest rate.
What about those reverse mortgages I hear about?
Those could be an option too. They help seniors tap into their home equity without taking on more debt.
So those are some things individuals can do. Are there any bigger policy changes that could help?
The article mentions a few ideas. Things like property tax relief for seniors, maybe programs to help older homeowners modify their mortgages, or even incentives for downsizing.
Interesting. So it sounds like a two-pronged approach. Smart financial planning and supportive policies.
You got it. It's a complex issue, and it's a conversation we need to have now.
Yes.
This problem is only going to get bigger as the population ages.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've talked about the individual challenges, but I'm also curious about the broader impacts. Like, how are these trends going to shape housing in America?
That's a big question and a fascinating one. And it's something we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it. Okay, so we've covered the financial side of things pretty thoroughly, but I'm curious about the bigger picture now. How are all these trends going to shape the future of housing in America?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. We have the baby boomer generation.
Right.
And as they continue to age, we're going to see a massive shift in housing demand. And it's not just about needing more houses. It's about needing different types of houses, ones that actually meet the needs of seniors.
So it's not as simple as just building more retirement communities.
Not at all. I mean, some seniors might want to stay in their current homes as long as possible. They call that aging in place.
Right, I've heard that term.
But for that to work, those homes need to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Things like wider doorways, walk-in showers, stuff like that.
Okay, so homes that can kind of evolve as people's needs change.
Exactly.
What other kinds of options are we likely to see more of?
Well, we could see a rise in smaller, more manageable homes, specifically designed for seniors, maybe with single-story layouts and low-maintenance yards, things like that.
That makes sense.
And then there's co-housing communities, which are becoming more popular. Seniors share common spaces and resources, but they still have their own private areas.
I've heard good things about those.
Yeah, and of course, we can't forget about technology. We're already seeing a lot of homes with smart features that help seniors stay safe and connected.
Oh, yeah, all those home automation devices.
Exactly. They can really make a difference in terms of independence and peace of mind.
It sounds like there's a huge opportunity for innovation in housing for seniors.
Absolutely. But it also brings up some challenges.
Like what?
Well, affordability is a big one.
Making sure these options are accessible to everyone.
Right. We need to think about housing as more than just a commodity. It's a social good, something everyone deserves access to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that means investing in affordable options, promoting age-friendly design principles in all new construction, and creating policies that protect seniors from discrimination.
So it's a multifaceted problem.
It really is.
It's not just about building more houses. It's about building the right kind of houses in the right places.
Exactly. And making sure they're available to everyone who needs them.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but it's important work. And it's going to require everyone to pitch in. Policymakers, developers, community organizations, and seniors themselves.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From regional trends to financial challenges to the future of housing.
It's been a great conversation.
If you had to pick one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
I'd say the most important thing to remember is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to senior housing. Everyone's different. Everyone has different needs and aspirations. We need to create communities that recognize and support that diversity.
That's a really good point. It's all about finding ways to make sure everyone has a place they can truly call home.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into senior housing trends. It's a complex issue, but I think we've shed some light on it today.
I hope so.
And for our listeners, we encourage you to keep learning about these issues. They're only going to become more important as time goes on.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all for today. Thanks for listening.
And a big thanks to Skip Benton at Coldwell Banker Select Real Estate for bringing us today's deep dive. If you're thinking about buying a home in Northern Nevada, give Skip a call.